two conflict zones have impacted India indirectly. But the third, the conflict in the Red Sea, directly affects us because for the first time, ships heading to India are being targeted. Now, these ships, these merchant ships, are the lifelines of our trade and energy. The war is literally at our doorstep. And to understand this, joining me today is Vice Admiral Anil Kumar Chawla, former FOC-in-C Southern Naval Command, and my colleague Deepak Bhadana. Admiral Chawla, welcome to the News9 Plus show.
Thank you, Sandeep. Very kind of you to call me over.
So there have been a total of 30 drone attacks since the 19th of November. Now, 50% of those drone strikes from the Houthis are in the Red Sea. Are we seeing a dawn of a new form of maritime warfare, something that we haven't seen before?
Firstly, I would submit that this is not a new development. If you recollect the Iran-Iraq war, which lasted almost 8 years in the 1980s,
right?
There was a phase called the tanker war where there were concerted attacks by, particularly by Iraqi aircraft on oil tankers and other ships that were plying through the Persian
Some of them
Gulf.
were Indian ships as well during the tanker war.
Lots of them were Indian ships. Lots of them were Indian ships.
Yeah.
And also subsequently since 2006-7 onwards, we've had concerted attacks by the pirates of the Gulf of Aden, which also included Indian ships. A lot of Indian seafarers were hostage.
Yeah.
So this, as I mentioned earlier in an article in the Times of India, this is an arc of instability, maritime arc of instability that stretches historically from the Middle East, from the Suez Canal to the Gulf of Aden.
Yeah.
And of course in the Persian Gulf as well, episodically, particularly the Straits of Hormuz. It keeps popping up because of the various conflicts that are going on in the region.
Right.
So firstly, this threat is not new.
Right.
And there will be more that will come in the future. Yeah. The only thing new about this threat is the use of drones.
Right.
And ballistic missiles, really. Because this is the first time that we have these weapons being used against ships. The earlier attacks were largely with anti-ship missiles launched either from a ship, but largely from aircraft.
And also by non-state actors, sir. I mean, who would have thought you would have non-state actors with anti-ship ballistic missiles?
No, so the non-state actors is a major part of today's warfare. Even the pirates, in a sense, you can say are non-state actors.
Yeah.
Here, of course, we think, we are sure, we are sure there is a state support involved because the sophistication of the weapons and the method of delivery require somebody with a sophisticated capability to have this know-how. To build and supply these weapons and of course to fire them. So this is a threat that is evolved over a period of time based on earlier threats, and new threats will emerge in the years ahead.
Right. Admiral Chawla, now we were studying the insurance premiums that have been rising with all of these ship attacks over the last month or so. And it began with like an increase of $75,000 per ship. And now we're we're hearing figures like $1 million per ship, and ships are being rerouted through the Cape of Good Hope, via the Cape of Good Hope. And as you know, I mean, it's 12 days, 14 days extra sailing time. Does this suggest that there's a lot of intelligent thought that's gone behind this kind of warfare, that it's not just non-state actors, but there are state actors as well who kind of advising these non-state actors to attack these kind of ships? And that's a danger that we have to worry about.
No, absolutely. This is a well thought out plan. The only thing I would say is that the attacks in terms of the targets, some of which were Israeli, partially owned ships or ships with Israeli cargo or Israeli connections in some sort, they have now widened to an indiscriminate use of weapons against ships of virtually almost every nation that are passing through this. And the reason why it is intelligently planned is because this is the busiest maritime thoroughfare in the world apart from the Malacca Strait. There's no shortage of targets. So essentially, I think the message that is being sent is of disruption in general. It is not. There are not that many Israeli merchant ships in any case, or ships having Israeli connections, because Israel is not a very big seafaring nation. Nor does it have major maritime trade sort of capacity or capability. So I think this is just to send a message to, particularly, to my mind, it appears to be to the West and to Israel in connection with the ongoing war in between Israel and the Hamas.
Right. So my colleague Deepak here has a question for you.
So, sir,
Yes, please.
the message for the West may be clear, but what is the impact on India? As we can see, this is one of the busiest commercial lanes. What do you see is going to be the impact on this on India?
It will obviously have an adverse impact. You know, when the last time we had the piracy incidents and before that the tanker war, basically the impact is on insurance premiums. The merchant traffic will normally not stop because, as you can see from the missiles, they are not really capable of sinking a merchant ship or even causing it serious damage because of the type of construction that merchant ships have, unless, of course, the ship is carrying some very inflammable cargo. Then it's a different matter, and if it unfortunately gets hit. But as we saw in the Iran-Iraq war, the anti-ship missiles used to get absorbed inside the container, inside the storage tanks of the tankers. In one of the storage tanks, there would be some leakage, but there was very rarely a fire. There were a few fires, but very rarely a fire because of the inert nature of crude oil which is there. The LNG carriers are a different kettle of fish altogether. That could be a very dangerous situation. So as far as the impact on India is concerned, it is going to affect us in terms of the enhanced insurance premiums and the fact that we will have to deploy the Indian Navy ships in greater numbers to try and protect our shipping, maybe by convoying them, maybe by rerouting them. And I think that will be the immediate impact. The long-term impact, of course, the long-term solution, of course, is always political. But I'm not going to go into that. I think the current situation requires us to protect our ships. And protection of the ships is not that simple, because it's a huge area, over 2 million square kilometers of sea room. So it requires a concerted action by all navies. That's why the task force has also been set up by the US. I don't know whether India will join or whether it will be sort of supporting it in some manner. But essentially it requires intelligence-based operations, because the drones and the missiles have to be launched from specific launchers. They can't just be, launched from any roadside place. So there are adequate satellite surveillance devices that are available between all countries who are involved in using this thoroughfare for trade. And the answer really lies in intelligence-based operations, wherein you try and identify where these are launched from and then target them or in some manner neutralize them or avoid them through either soft kill or hard kill measures.
Right.
News 9 Plus. Download now.